Dweller on the Threshold by Manly P. Hall. From Children of the Elements Part 6. The Passing of the Dweller. The first great step in the initiations of the ancients was the passing of the strange monster that dwelt on the line between the physical and spiritual worlds. The children of light were told that they could never go forth into distant lands, or earn the wages of master builders, until they faced with courage and resolve the demon that dwelt ever with them, but was invisible until they sought to awaken within themselves the subtle forces of which he was composed. Most people do not meet this fearful figure until at the time of death their intelligence functions for a short time on the borderland of life and death, so called, which is his dwelling place. There he crouches, the thing you have built, with the sins of the flesh and the crimes you committed in darkness, a fearful spectre of unearthly terror, the sum total of perversion, the aggregate of misused force and perverted talents. Have you ever stopped to think the things that you do unwisely will sometime confront you like accusing judges and bar your way to the light that you will someday recognize and seek to serve? Far back when man first sinned, this creature was born, and cried out from he blood of the first of God's children that was slain. Hate and fear, jealousy and greed, passion and lust, thoughtlessness and crime, all these have fed it in every human being until today man carries with him an all-powerful thing reared and nursed by the worst that is in him, a beast-like demon ever spurring him on to crime and perversion, ever tempting him through the medium of habit to sink back into the mire of degeneracy from which he is crawling so painfully. This is the guardian of the threshold. You have never seen him yet, but every day you are fighting him, struggling to be free from the coils of sin which are his manifestation. Every time you master an unworthy trait of character, you are passing the dweller on your threshold, for you are divided from the world of spirit by your sins, and when you master your own mistakes, and do right where you did wrong before, sin becomes less of an obstacle, until at last you are able to face this creature for the last time and among the subtle ethers of the higher world struggle with the dragon of karma until at last you vanquish him and bathing in his blood become immortal. 4. Energy is the blood of the dweller and he is built of the energy you wasted or misused. The dweller differs from the elementals and nature spirits insomuch as while the latter live in these ethers, they are a creation in themselves and float about in those essences, while the guardian is attached to man and never leaves and grows or diminishes with the sins of the individual of whom it forms a part. The guardian of the threshold is really the sin body of all creatures who have individual intelligence. Man is the only creature that we know, but there are many others in nature. The planet Mars is the sin body of the solar god and is therefore his guardian of the threshold, but the deity has transmuted this power into the dynamo of the solar system. Those who would serve their god safely and join the little band of immortals must master their own sins, and the price of entrance into the temple is the conquest of our own lower natures, for we cannot serve both God and Mammon. To force one part of the organism to develop spiritual powers while another side of the nature is servant to abuse and material things is to bring upon yourself insanity and death. Therefore, before you take the true path of discipleship you must have a long talk with yourself and see how many of the things of your lower nature you are allowing to tie you to earth. Then begins the great battle so often symbolized in the religious ceremonies of the ancients, which must result in the death of the lower nature, the dweller. Then from the ashes of the flaming conflict the higher nature rises and becomes one with the spirit of light. This is the mystery of crucifixion, and the inner meaning behind the third degree of the Masonic rite. In a little way it is played out in life every day, but at last it all heaps together and must at last be faced and a decision made. The sins of the flesh. While any of the following traits are left in man's nature, he has no right to seek first-hand knowledge on spiritual subjects. This does not mean that he should not study, but he must keep away from occult things that will work upon his super-physical nature and organism. All of the following things build and strengthen the power of the dweller. Hate, anger, lust, dislikes, attachments. Fear, sorrow, dishonesty, sulking, contention. Greed, emotionalism, selfishness, lying, argument. Excitement, passion, egotism, pride, demands. All students are subject to these failings. That is expected, and there is no special disgrace in having them, for only the gods are without fault, and mayhaps they are sometimes. But until these problems have been honestly faced and worked out, no one has the cosmic right to dabble in those things that lie behind the veil that divides this world from the others. There are things we must meet and tests we must face, and our usefulness depends upon how we meet and master them, for every one of these faults makes us useless to the great ones who so badly need help from the world of men. What kind of a universe would we live in if our gods were subject to the failings listed above? If the sun should get mad, or the masters begin to run things according to their own egotism, what would happen to us? All right then, if we want to reach positions of trust, we must be as passionless, patient and kind as the gods themselves. What is more, no one ever reached the position of mastery any other way than by passing the guardian of the lower nature and transmuting to creative powers the sins listed above. The 3 steps. There are 3 distinct steps in the attainment of wisdom, and all growth must take place along those lines. If man really wants the God wisdom, he must be willing to accept it as the gods have seen fit to bestow it. 1. The student must prepare himself for the influx of wisdom. This he does through right thought, right action, and right attitude. Right thought is the open mind, ready to consider all things, an humble mind willing to receive the crumbs from the feasts of the wise, a charitable mind condemning none but itself, a far-sighted mind capable of seeing good in all things and ultimate good for all things. Right action consists of proper care of the body, proper exercise, and a proper place in the great material battle of life. Man grows by contacting growing things, and when he is able to contact all forms of life pleasantly, with consideration, with the heart of the helper and the mind of the student, he grows. Right attitude means that everything is undertaken in the spirit of love, truth, and a sincere, unselfish desire to assist in making the world a better, truer place to live in. Right attitude means cheerfulness, hopefulness, and cooperation to all things that is seeking to grow, and consideration to all, even when they disagree with you, realizing that man must not work for man but for God, and each man has his separate account. 2. Having prepared himself for the coming of wisdom, by cleaning his body, broadening his mind and opening his heart, he must then apply himself to the task of digesting the knowledge that comes to him as soon as he prepares the way for its incoming. The arranging of facts so that they will be of practical use in the world is no little task. Much that we hear from occultists it is of no value to everyday problems, and while the technical knowledge is necessary to a teacher, it must be presented in a way that will serve, or it might as well remain unsaid. The second step is the actual coming of wisdom itself, and this in turn prepares the way for the 3rd stage. 3. Having prepared for and received the light, the 3rd stage is that of using the knowledge in the best and most convincing way. This is no child's play, but requires the wisdom and understanding of the gods themselves. People take the spiritual sciences too lightly. They do not realize that the enlightened ones are picked from the very cream of the earth. Its greatest minds, its most beautiful souls, and its greatest successors are the ones chosen to serve with the band of spiritual ones. Modern occultism is filled with failures who were never of any value to themselves or anyone else. If these rattlebrains think for a moment they are going to be lifted up in a few short months or years, they are very much mistaken. The masters use only the best on the face of the earth. Ask yourself sometime, what you are or what you can do that makes you worthy to ask for spiritual assistance in the employment office or not? What are your references? What letters of recommendation do you bring from your last boss, your friends, your world? I am going to list an example for you that you may better understand what the guardian of the threshold means. A type case. We have one friend, an elderly person already advancing towards the evening of her life. She is without a friend on earth, for she gossips so that none dare whisper in her presence. She has been married twice and both homes have been broken. She blames others, but all who know her realize that she is the one responsible. She has an ungodly temper, a sour disposition, a body filled with acids and improper foods. She spends most of her time regretting unfortunate conditions of years ago, feeling that the world is all down on her. She is selfish, but will not believe it and spends all her time telling what she knows. She expects everyone to agree with her and calls them fools when they do not. 1 minute she wants to embrace and the next she wants to kill you. This person prays and meditates every day and asks for spiritual enlightenment, sees visions and believes that the creations of a mind of that kind are true, which is quite impossible. She is just one of thousands, yes, millions, who expect illumination as their birthright and spirituality as a legacy. They do not realize that the masters must have people who can do things. This person could not get $5 a week in the material world, for she is a liability wherever you put her, but she believes that she is valuable enough to God for him to send one of his small bands of masters to teach her against her own will the things she would never understand anyway. Those who want illumination are many, but few are worth the effort nature must make in order to change their lives and produce something useful. An analysis of the example case. An analysis of this lady shows that she has the following faults. 1. She is egotist, almost impossible to cure. 2. She is a pessimist. God must be her optimist or he would never have the courage to try and make something out of me. 3. She has a quick temper. Quick tempers are blood poisoners. 4. She is selfish. The masters are opposite, selfless. 5. She is emotional. She wastes energy and that is a crime. 6. She has a neglected body. God will not dwell in a temple that is not kept clean and free of disease. These 6 things are the dwellers on her threshold, standing between her and all the beautiful things she wants to be. God will not remove these things from her, but will give her the thing she longs for when she proves her worth, by mastering her own nature and awakening to her mistakes. God makes a pact with man: if man will prepare the temple of his own life, the Father will take up his dwelling in that temple and shall be the light of that temple. Ask nothing of God until you have done your part, and do not try to gain spirituality until you have built your tabernacle according to the law given by the children in the days when the earth was young. The Sphinx. Who has fathomed the mystery of that expressionless face gazing out into the desert to the place where the sun rises in the morning sky? That creature with the body of an animal is the guardian of the threshold, the sin body of man, unlike the true constitution of man, is unknown to the majority of people. But before the candidate can go on into the spiritual work that was ordained to do, he must wrest the secret of sin from the silent watcher, and by concentration and consecration correct one after another his own faults and master one after another his vices, until he can offer a life without blemish to the service of the masters. Then he will be accepted. But how few there are who want a life without blemish. All want power, but few can take on the sword of quick detachment and drive to the heart of the leering spectre, their own lower nature, the dweller on the threshold.